Check, check, check 1, 2, 3. Yeah, can you turn me up a little more on my monitors? Yeah, all right. Yeah, right about there. That's good, that's good.
Maybe I'm just lucky.
I'm here with Dave Palmer at the office of Gotee Records, talking to you about what you do, where you came from, and what Gotee does. So let's start this out with who is Dave Palmer?
Who am I?
Yeah. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?
I got here, I grew up in the Chicago area, and immediately after college was burnt out on all things academic except for music. And so I fell in with a tiny label up there for about 2 years, where it was 2 owners and myself in a studio. And after a while decided that I needed to make a move at some point. So I moved down here, worked for several years with Reunion Records, with some of their rock imprints, the band The Prayer Chain, Hoi Polloi, Ashley Cleveland, and brought in Third Day and All-Star United to that situation. After that period, worked at Squint Entertainment with Steve Taylor for 4 years, doing all of the Sixpence, sort of the Kiss Me record experience, and working with Chevelle and Waterdeep and The Insiders and Burlap to Cashmere and some, fantastic artists there. Then after that was sort of shuttered by the parent company. It was over at Rocketown Records. And then recently, especially at Gotee, I've had my own company called Substance Media, and I do media marketing and consulting. So at Gotee, I oversee all of our marketing plans and marketing execution and strategies, as well as kind of help with our corporate structure and try and give some day-to-day guidance.
So as a marketing guy, can you describe the process of marketing, say, a new band? How does that take place?
It's really, it's about telling people stories as much as anything. So I think that takes some of the trickery out of it, if I can continue to view it that way. A lot of it is very nuts and bolts of making sure that an artist knows who they are, so that you're communicating that correctly. There's nothing worse than hearing that an artist is going to go after a particular sort of audience or a particular sound, and then it doesn't match up, and you feel like you're trying to force things. What we really try and do is make sure that an artist has a very strong sense of self, and that allows us to go tell their stories a lot more easily. And it's really, it's about trying to come up with creative and effective ways to tell their stories, to do that online and in an interactive fashion, helping them with touring. We definitely try to get our artists out on tour well in advance of their record, so that people know who they are and they've had a chance to see them and tell their friends about them and hopefully interact with them. So it's really an overall strategy.
Will the pre-tour typically be, or the tour before the album comes out typically be with a known artist on the label?
Usually it is, unless the artist has sort of their own touring base built in. We've just signed a band here that they tour about 150 days a year on their own. And so for them, we'll try and get them on tour with somebody larger just to play for bigger audiences. But it's nice to know in that instance there's a fallback, and that they're going to be able to do their own thing kind of regardless.
What are the various elements that go into marketing? You mentioned an online portion to that, and helping them to kind of identify their personality as a band or as an individual. But what are the different pieces that you work on?
And the first thing also is just identifying who's the core sort of fan base for this band. If it's teenage girls, then you really don't want to be spending all your advertising in publications that are age 25-year-old guys. That's just a bad move. Although a lot of times if the band is made up of 25-year-old guys, they want to advertise there because it's their own demographic, and so that can be a challenge at times. But from there, it's online, print media, a lot of publicity to be able to tell your story, touring and tour support. Radio is certainly, for some of our artists, a very important piece of the puzzle. And then we have, for some of them, it's direct-to-church marketing. Some of them are very involved with churches, with denominations, or sort of church networks, and it's important for them to plug in there and to feel like they're communicating there. Other artists that we work with are fairly focused on playing sort of all ages mainstream clubs, and so we've got to work within a whole different set of publications, radio stations for them. So it's really about trying to figure out how we're serving their process the best.
Are you responsible for the creative element of, say it's a mail piece or a radio spot or something like that. Are you responsible for that process as well?
Yes, yes. Most of the time, you know, if it's a radio thing, for instance, our head of national promotion will go ahead and spearhead that. And it's important to have a good team around us so that somebody's got some expertise in each area that they can lend to it.
But the marketing job really is a creative job, looking at the whole array of options that are available to promote somebody, and getting that background.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I think a lot of times what a record is in and of itself helps to really define the marketing. There's a marketing guy named Seth Godin who's written a bunch of books, and he's a big proponent of design, and not just visual design, but the way that something actually affects whoever's going to be using it, whether it's a book or a car or what have you. And so he says that if the design is done right, then the marketing is just an extension of that, and you shouldn't have to think too hard. So hopefully what we're getting from the A&R department is something that as soon as we hear it, we know where this thing is going. And that makes our job a whole lot easier, because if it's not, I think those are the times that you tend to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to come up with something clever or flashy to kind of make up for something that's not very clearly defined in the design of what it is itself. And that goes back to an artist knowing who they are.
Next time on an inside look at Music City, Dave Palmer talks about the state of Christian music today.
The music that is being made is by and large better in terms of the production quality. I still think that there is room for artists that really break out creatively and lyrically.
And I know that it's so cliche to talk about